Record.
And we're recording on the vlog. Mr. Rafferty, we've been building up all video. If anyone's stayed tuned to this point, they've seen the chutney. Envious.
How's your chutney?
Delicious,
Tasty?
bro. Oh man, it's delicious. Delicious. All the more delicious.
Try it.
All the more delicious because I made it with my own onions. Man, what a feeling.
Not too sure about that. I've seen what you've done to those onions.
Tournament delicious chutney. But anyway, let's focus. We are keen to get your take on how B2B sales is going, Mr. Rafferty. I think if we try and make it super tactical so folks can take away some key tips and tricks as to what's working for you. So first question, Paul.
Yes.
What has been occupying your time?
LinkedIn. So, well, I say LinkedIn. LinkedIn has been occupying my time because I've been reaching out to folk that I reached out to prior to furlough. So I was messaging a lot of folk in events and marketing and CSR to find out what they were doing now that things were starting to change, because at that point events were being cancelled. Not everyone was going to virtual, but things were changing and we were trying to figure out how to help. Obviously got furloughed, so sent them a goodbye message. Didn't know when we'd be back, thought it'd be a month. It's 3 months later and a lot has changed. So focus has been to get back in touch with all of the customers previously first to find out how they're doing, figure out what's changed for them, see if they've been able to use their current power banks for gifting and how they've changed their events tactics. Reach out to the folk who I reached out to on LinkedIn who've been positive and were positive before. So we're like, yeah, reach out when you're back from furlough, that kind of stuff, to see where they're at now. Because if they were interested then, 3 months later, a whole 3 months of lockdown, events cancelling, what's going to be their interest now? Are they going to be keen or not? So my focus has been on getting in touch with individuals themselves and just figuring out how we can help now, instead of being like, here's what we do, how can we help?
So I guess it's like, as startup business 101, it's speak to your customers, right? Like work out what's the landscape, what's changed, what intel can we get from the customers, existing customers, and I guess how we are able to best support them moving forward, right? Because everything's changed.
Exactly. And I think for anyone who's wanting advice for B2B sales and doing it now, obviously identify if your product is still relevant in the same way and your offering still relevant in the same way. If it's not, then figure out a way to change that, because before we were mostly pitching it as corporate events and corporate gifting for events, so impactful corporate gifts at events, but events are not happening. So it's like, okay, can we do it for virtual events? Can we do it as employee gifts, employee work from home devices? So you need to change and adapt to how your customers and their customers have changed and adapted.
Nice. I think another thing that's been quite heartwarming and quite good for us is that the customers seem genuinely keen to hear from us, right? Like I guess you're always a wee bit nervous with B2B sales or just sales in general, where like you're reaching out to folk being like, I'm here, I'm back, I'm looking to try and chat to you. But there seems to be a lot of goodwill in the network, right? Like folk are keen to hear from you.
Definitely, so keen, and that's been the most promising part, and the most rewarding part the past 2 weeks has been speaking to previous customers and even people who were interested before. None of them have said, "Oh, are you joking? Like during the pandemic, you want to try and sell us stuff?" No, it's like because the messaging hasn't been that way. But everyone's keen for a chat, because actually working from home, you have the spare time. You're not as busy. You don't have to worry about booking out a meeting room. You just do a video call. So it's a lot easier to get people in. They're more understanding. Now that we're back to work, they realise, right, let's give them the time of day because they helped us out before. Let's see what they're saying. So no, it's been for everyone that's spoken to me in the past 2 weeks. Like spoke to me. It's been phenomenal. The response been so good, and I'm sure it's going to continue.
Brilliant. So that's existing customers. What about new customers, right? So like I guess we are like our main tactic, one of our main strategies is outreach on LinkedIn, connection request, always a tailored message, right? Like I get them day in, day out. You've clearly like, oh my god, we're not gonna name names, but I invite to a redundancy.
Copy and paste the effort. Yep. Yeah.
Invite to our redundancy seminars. Have you read my profile? Have you looked at any of the content? But anyway, that aside, always a tailored message on the outreach. Do you think it's still working as well as it was before furlough, Paul?
No, not as well as before. Well, the messaging's still working, and I guess the most important part before the messaging is the target market. So actually figuring out, should I be messaging this person? Is this the right person to message? In a startup, it's difficult to know who's going to be the right person until you ask those questions. And what in the messaging you have to make clear, listen, you might not be the best person to speak to about this, understand that. If you can think of anyone that would be a better place to speak to about this certain thing, then I would appreciate a mention. But if not, no worries. So if you don't know who your target customer is just now, which a lot of people won't because things have changed, your offer might change, reach out to someone similar in that position. So like if it's marketing, reach out to a digital marketing person instead of an events one for us. Mention what you do, how things have changed. You're interested to find out how they've adapted, and then if they know someone, they might put you in touch if you've been nice about it and you're just keen to help. But so it's not been as effective as before because of that. We're trying to figure out exactly who the target market and individual in the company should be that we contact. But also a lot of the companies, unfortunately, are having to make redundancies. So stuff like that, like there's no way they're going to be buying corporate gifts or anything like that, because how could they justify buying corporate gifts when they've made some people redundant? So there's been some not so nice conversations around that. I mean, they've been nice, but it's been sad to hear because a lot of companies are potentially going to be laying off people, and they have laid off people. And condolences to everyone. Unfortunately, that's just a part of what's going to be happening in the sales process. You're going to be messaging people, and you'll find that out, and it's terrible. But of course, businesses have to continue to try and make sales. So if you think if that's going to be your reason behind not reaching out to people, it can't be, because otherwise businesses won't continue to grow and thrive. Yeah. So survival techniques. But saying that, it hasn't been as good as last time. It actually, I'm having the same amount of conversations and responses as last time. They're all positive.
Maybe a couple of things in there where like they're deeper conversations perhaps off the bat, right? Like it's one of the fluffy stuff to begin with. It's either yes or no. We always like to hunt the nose, right? Like you're hunting the nose to get to the yeses. So actually, the quicker we can get to a no, the more time you have to focus on the yeses. Yeah. And then interestingly, last one, Paul, from this one perhaps is it's the month of August, right? So like we've got it from mentors in London. Gary V's August video, I like to watch it every year, but we know that even with the pandemic, folk have gone back home, whether it be Italians or the French who are working these jobs in London. The first opportunity they had, which was August, they're away home, right? Like they want to see friends and family. So it's maybe a wee bit quieter on LinkedIn in those C-suite managerial director roles because they've gone home to see friends and family. But August is the time to be laying the seeds for the final quarter of the year, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think whatever the case, if you're coming back to work just now, if you've been working the whole time, sales is always and will always be the lifeblood of business. That's how businesses work. If you don't have the sales, unless you've got just a wad of cash sitting there and someone throwing it in, like they want to see that cash being turned into revenue generating activity. So sales solves everything. you just need to be a bit more empathetic when you're reaching out to folk and understand that. Make sure you put in that you understand that things have changed. Address the situation, like show that you understand that there is a pandemic. Like as obvious as that sounds, put it in that maybe not mention, oh, COVID has just destroyed the economy and we're all struggling here. So I'd appreciate the help. No, like just appreciate that things may have changed for them, and you'd like to understand how you could help going forward. And with respect, like, yeah, you want to have a deeper conversation, but you also need to realize that these individuals' time is more valuable now than it has been before. So respect that they might not have a lot of time to speak to you. So keep it short and sweet and empathetic.
To the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, interesting. I think that's spot on, Paul, where I think like our type of customer typically is office based, right? So for our, speaking generally, like our target person to speak to probably has not been furloughed, is probably still working from home, but that throws up a whole load of challenges for trying to get these people's attentions. They've got kids running around their feet, they're working in the spare bedroom, and it's been a little bit crazy over the last couple of months for them. So interesting, Paul. When it comes to PowerLife's pipeline, right? Two weeks worth of this. We've followed up with some quality content on LinkedIn. We feel we are doing tailored messaging, none of this copy paste nonsense. We're selecting our targets selectively, right? How's that reflecting in the PowerLife pipeline?
After 2 weeks, I would say promising. Yeah, promising. Number one, we have a previous customer that has indicated they'd like to purchase a small amount again, but have also mentioned how happy they've been with working with us. They love what we do, they love the impact, and they will be ordering even more again in 2021, which is a very pleasing thing to hear.
It's nice to be going into the end of the year knowing that there's business coming next year, right?
So, and that's another thing in terms of like B2B sales strategy. It's like, well, if you can manage, if you can drip feed sales for the next couple of months, but you're also working on potential deals that, yep, this sounds great, but only for 2021. It's like, well, how can we help get to the stage where most of the groundwork is done for that deal? To then in 2021, it's like all you need to do is sign off and start production.
Yep.
You need to think about it in that way, because if you are struggling for money and you want to show either investors or the bank that your business is investable, then you need to show that in the pipeline there's stuff for the future lined up. And the money's not coming in just now, but it will come up in the future. So that's important. If you're not going to deal just now, don't worry. Like, talk about the future opportunities, get that conversation going, because that adds value to your business, and that means next year you've already got a head start on it. So promising start. We've got, as I say, that one current customer who is likely to place a small order, just sorting things out with that. We have another small order confirmed from a friend of ours. Shall we mention him?
Yeah, sure. ZRSDP, Jamie, they're the charity connection down south to the connection in Zimbabwe. I think he's looking to do some donor gifting. Always appreciate the support from Jamie. What a legend. Thanks very much, Jamie. That's huge for us. Gets us out the starting block.
Definitely. Thank you, Jamie. And then the rest of the pipeline is all new customers, all new potential customers that have expressed an interest. They've wanted a call with us and have not said no yet. So there's been more no's than yes. That's expected. That's always going to happen in sales. But the fact that people are going to take the call and have a chat is a promising step. And all you can do is ask and figure out if right now is the time for them. If it's not, then you need to move on to the next and see if it's going to work for them another time. But if it is, then, well, there you go, you progress that, you figure out, right, well, how's this partnership going to work? What do we need to do to get this deal over the line? And make the impact happen, because, like, as everyone knows, well, as most people should know, like, the stakeholders that benefit from this business are the children in Africa. Like, the majority, like, without doubt, like, when we get a sale, that's impact happening, and we've not been able to do that for months. And to be able to get the sales in, that, like, I don't know, I just, thinking about it gives me the motivation and the fire to forget about being rejected and just try and get the sale, not being brash about
the
it.
nose to get to the yeses, and the yeses for us is changing kids' lives. Yeah, it's exciting.
Because your time is valuable, and you don't want to be wasting it on someone that isn't going to purchase your products or isn't going to work with you. But you don't know that until you get them on a call and you figure that out. So the sooner you figure it out, the better for the two parties involved, because their time's valuable too. And I'm sure they don't want to be wasting it on something that doesn't benefit them either. So
brilliant.
But yeah, pipeline's looking good.
Pipeline's looking tasty. Tremendous, Paul. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. And we're excited for going into 2021, and there's even more going to be happening the more outreach you do on LinkedIn, Paul. Keen to now chat the new normal, right? So, like, as I mentioned previously in the video, things have changed for us. Like, in-person physical events have been cancelled, but where there's a crisis, there's an opportunity. Paul, what's your take on the new opportunity for Paralife and virtual events?
It is care packages sent to virtual event attendees saying, thanks very much for still being a part of it. I'm sorry that you couldn't attend in person, but as you know, the world has came to a halt. Thank you for attending. Here is a gift from us on behalf of the team for being a part. So virtual events, a lot of companies have adapted to do that, but it's also meant that they're spending so much less on organising an actual physical event. So they've got maybe a little bit of money to be able to spend on events. Whereas before coming back, we were kind of just ruling events out. We just thought, well, these teams aren't going to have budget for anything. All events are cancelled, and virtual events, how can they give out gifts? But it's like, well, they can post them if they want to, which some customers are and have been doing, which is why there is promise there still. So for some companies, it might even be more. It might even be more, like, maybe they didn't consider gifts before, but now they are, to send to virtual events because they're not having to pay for their stand.
Right.
So it's very interesting to understand that a bit more and help companies with that. And obviously, we're launching the 2 new work from home products that are ideal for this situation.
So talk to me, new product launches, Paul. How have they gone? It's not been a big mad Apple theater online live stream launch, right? It's been soft.
No, it has not. No.
But the customers have been made aware. And how do you think it's gone?
Incredibly well. I mean, I think with the PAL dock, it just makes sense because it sits on your desk. It's a high quality product.
I'm using mine now.
Me too. Easy to customize, and it's fits in with our brand as well, Power of Life. So it's another power product. So the response from that has been, like, you've seen it from some of the LinkedIn comments. I want to buy one of them for my desk. We've had previous customer, you'll know who I'm talking about, who is interested to pitch them to one of their clients because they bought the WePals from us before. And they're like, well, that's right up their street because it's a professional looking product, and it's a kind of new technology, as new as as wireless charging can be. But no, we pride ourselves on the quality of our products, and I think our customers have appreciated that. So there's definitely interest. There's people who've been like, send me the brochure, send me the price list. So I think with the PAL Dock, it's great. It's the soft launch, you call it soft launch, has been successful.
Nice. And well, I guess, yeah, paper-free notepads. Let's cover that as well.
Paper-free notepads, yeah. I think the potential with this could be quite frightening.
Yeah, me too. I think this is the secret weapon right here, Paul.
Now, obviously, it's not a power product, so it's not something that we usually think about selling. But at the same time, like Power of Life, I don't know, most people might know that it's sustainable development enterprises, so it's all about sustainable products as well as high quality products, and obviously the impact. Stone paper notepads, like tree-free notepads, they're made of excess limestone off of construction sites and mines. That was all going to waste. It's been bought by a company. It's crushed. There's hardly any water used or any horrible chemicals used, and the CO2 emitted from making this paper notepad is significantly less than an actual tree-based paper notepad.
So it ticks all the sustainability boxes.
It does. It
Paul.
does. And then on top of that, with the notepad, we don't have the margins available to gift a solar light. We would if we could, but it's not just light that is in need in Africa, as well as that. So the schools have came back to us. You were there in Zimbabwe. Like, what was it they said? Textbooks and notepads. They're always needing them.
They're expect, right? I mean, you know, from school, right? At the start of the year, you get a new jotter from every subject that you're going into class for, right? And if you imagine that the schools that we're working with, the kids can barely afford the uniforms and the fees, let alone the pens and pen, paper, calculators.
Exactly.
There's a need for the resources in the classroom.
Exactly. So therefore, for every notebook we sell, we gift a notebook to a child in school.
Love it, and the customers seem to love it too.
They love it. They love it. They love the fact. So they love the fact that the notepads themselves are more sustainable, and then the impact just tops it off. So, I mean, we've had customers talking about using them to send for the virtual event gifts, but then we've had customers saying, "Well, this could replace our notepads entirely." Like, well, what type of deal is that? What type of impact is that? Because it'll probably take longer. Something like that would take much longer. You need to speak to procurement and get other people involved, but that could be ginormous.
I'm excited at the prospect too, Mr. Rafferty. Yeah, I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, that was a curveball. Like when we were discussing it, that product was a curveball. I'd probably say you were more adamant on the notepad style thing as well, because customers had asked for it, and I was like, nah, just stick to the power banks. I'll sell the power banks. That'll do. But no, it seems to look, there's a lot of promise with it. So both products are looking very promising.
Watch this space. Watch this space. Nice. Spot on. So, like, let's try and wrap it up at this point, Mr. Rafferty. Maybe some key takeaways. So, let's look forward. So this was like a 2-week review. How's it going? So you're back to work. The messages are being sent. The content's going out. Things are trucking. Within 2 weeks, there's a couple of deals shaping up in the pipeline. Really exciting. What are you doing next week?
Next week, following up with customers, trying to get some more of the deals down the bottom end of the pipeline towards closing, and just helping more people out. See if we can help anywhere, because that's the most important part. It's just, we know all these companies have had to adapt. We know that everyone is now working from home or kind of split between there and the office. We know everything's changed, and people will have to think about new ways to, I guess, market what they do, and also make impact as well. So yeah, here to help, and I'll be messaging folk to see how they're doing and if we can help with anything.
Brilliant. So for the sake of the vlog, Paul, here's the challenge. We've got about like a minute and a half to get your thoughts on the vlog. On your marks, get ready, set, go.
Thoughts on the vlog, I think.
B2B sales thoughts for the
B2B
key takeaways.
sales. Okay, key takeaways. keep on trying to get B2B sales for anyone that is in this space. Keep on trying to get them, but make sure you are being empathetic and you understand the situation of the person that you're reaching out to. Don't go for the massive list of people that you copy and paste a message to and hope for the best. Look at what their company's doing. Figure out how you can help them now and if your product or offering is still relevant to them. Most importantly, just keep going for sales, because if you don't, then your business is in trouble. And I understand that times are tough, but furlough pay is going to end. Business is going to have to get back to normal, and we're just going to have to start trucking again. So there are people out there who are going to be willing to speak to you, probably more now than ever, just to chat and figure out how you're doing. And they'll genuinely get back to you and be like, listen, not just now, or they'll have some interest. So B2B sales, keep going. There is business to be done. And yeah, watch this space for PAL, because I think there's exciting things to come.
So do I. Yeah. Brilliant. Right. So, Mr. Rafferty, appreciate the time on a Friday afternoon. We've drawn you away from your LinkedIn outreach. I know you're pounding it. Good on you, mate. We will catch up with you again in maybe a couple of weeks, see how it's going after a month's worth of B2B sales effort and activity. But at this point, nothing else left to say other than appreciate the comments, the likes, the views, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Sweet.
Nice.
Let me press